So often guys will ask me, what makes you advanced when it comes to this stuff? And the reality is that there's not really a simple answer to this. It's quite nuanced and it's extremely subjective. The obvious answer, I guess, would be, how often, when you go out and you do your approaches, how many numbers do you get? How many successful conversations do you get? How many dates do you get? How often do you get laid? Looking at these kinds of metrics. But I think it's a little bit reductive and it's a little bit overly simplistic, because it's going to vary from person to person anyway. It's going to vary depending on where they're located, how often they go out, how consistent they are, how good looking they are, how high their SMV is, all of these factors, and it's just hard to weigh this stuff up. So if you're going to go purely by the stats, purely by the numbers, then it's not exactly going to paint an accurate picture actually for the majority of people. And then you get people comparing themselves to other people. It's just not really helpful. And that's also another reason why I don't really like saying just putting a lot of emphasis on the stats or putting a lot of emphasis on the results, because it's just going to vary from person to person, and people have different goals, people have different preferences. Some people will have extremely high standards, they'll be extremely picky, whereas others will be less so. They'll be happy to have go for more variety and lower their standards in some cases. So I don't think it's really that accurate to really look at it from a kind of results-based or stats-based perspective. And so therefore I think the true kind of measure of someone who is advanced with this stuff is, well, of course they're going to need a wealth of experience. Of course they will have, they're going to have been getting laid at some point, and of course they're going to have to be, getting dates and that kind of thing at some point, of course. But I think that the main thing is that they're content with what they're doing. They've been doing it for enough time, they've had a wealth of experience, they've had a massive amount of reference experience, and they know kind of what works for them, and they're content. And that's really the key thing. I think they're happy with the way they're doing it and how it's working out for them, essentially. Because obviously most of the time advanced guys, they don't come to me and ask for coaching because they're happy as they are. They don't need it. It's normally guys who are obviously beginners. That's obviously the majority of guys that come for coaching, as well as slightly more intermediate guys who want to get to a better level, basically. So in other words, these guys are not really happy with where they are at the moment, otherwise they wouldn't come for coaching. And so therefore, obviously, these guys are at like an earlier stage and they're trying to get to a more advanced level. But really, I think that's what it is. It's about being happy with what you're doing, happy with your results, and just happy with the whole entire process, So for example, a guy who's truly advanced, he's really kind of fostered this abundance mentality where even if he has a shit day, so he goes out, he does maybe, let's say, 10 approaches in like 2 hours or something, and he gets absolutely nothing, he just gets 10 blowouts in a row. He doesn't let that affect him. He doesn't go home depressed, he doesn't go cry in a corner when he arrives back into his room. He's content with his life in general, he's content with the process, he understands the fact that sometimes he's going to get a lot of blowouts, a lot of rejections, and he doesn't take it to heart. And so therefore he's generally happy. And that's really a true marker of being advanced. Another thing as well that's really key is just being generally relaxed and comfortable with what you're doing. So think about it this way: if, for example, there's a beginner guy and he's done maybe like it's taken him 100 approaches and he's managed to get one date, and it's been his first date in like 10 years or something, he's obviously going to be a bit nervous when he's on that date. He's not going to be 100% fully comfortable because it's just a new stimulus, it's a new surroundings, it's just, it's going to take some getting used to, and it's his first time in an extremely long time. So he's not going to be really comfortable in that scenario. It's just going to be a lot of new things that are going to be happening to him, and he's not exactly sure how he's going to be able to handle it all. So you compare that to an advanced guy. An advanced guy's been on at least enough dates to the point where he's comfortable, he doesn't give a fuck, he's going in there just completely relaxed energy and everything's going smoothly. And even if there is a bit of a hiccup here and there, which obviously happens, unexpected things happen in life, he doesn't let it phase him. He doesn't get kind of overwhelmed by any particular situation, because he's got enough reference experience, and he's happy enough with who he is and how he's projecting himself out into the world, where he doesn't let things affect him, at least on an emotional level or on a deeply psychological level. He's just content, and he's relaxed, and he's stoic, and he's calm. So yeah, I think that is essentially what makes you advance, is when you really reach that kind of pinnacle where, you know, nothing affects you. You know, you don't let kind of random chaotic things happening, you know, get to you. It's really just a case of you're content with who you are. You know, you're coming from a good place. You project that out into the world. You develop your own style, and that resonates with you on a personal level. And you're happy to project that outwards because you're genuinely happy with who you are, and you genuinely love yourself for who you are as well. It sounds a little bit corny, I kind of realize that, but it is actually true when you really think about it on a really fundamental level. It is actually the most true thing, I think. Because, you know, I've seen it so many times where, like, guys will try and kind of mold themselves or try and copy someone that they've seen on YouTube because they think that that guy is an advanced guy and he's doing it the correct way. But actually that might not necessarily resonate with someone else, because, you know, everybody's got different personalities, and in the end what you're doing, you're projecting yourself out into the world, out onto other people. It might not necessarily resonate with you on a personal level, and that's something that you have to kind of find out for yourself. And the only way you're going to find that out is by doing enough approaches, going on enough dates, sleeping with enough girls, etc., to the point where you can get a deeper, fuller understanding of yourself and who you actually want to be. So yeah, that's why it can take many approaches to get to an advanced level, but it's not like necessarily like, oh, I've done, you know, thousands of approaches now I'm done because I've got all this wealth of experience. It's like, yes, you've got that wealth of experience, but it's about what that actually implies. So yeah, so even though you might have done, say, thousands of approaches, eventually, yes, you'll get a certain understanding of some technical aspects, you know, how best to stop a girl, how best to deliver your opener, your voice projection, your non-verbal communication, all this stuff, conversation skills, flirting skills, etc. That's all well and good, but it's also about developing your own style, something that actually resonates with you and the kind of person that you are, your kind of personality, because, you know, your personality is going to be different to the person that you're seeing on screen, on the YouTube videos, on the infields, whatever. You know, that might not necessarily relate to you as much as perhaps somebody else. So therefore it's not really a case of just copying someone. Oh yeah, I'll copy this guy because he seems like he's getting a lot of success with this, so therefore I should be more like him. You know, it doesn't necessarily work like that. So it's really about kind of adopting your own style, and that can take a lot of reference experience. That can take many approaches, it can take many dates, because you find out more about who you are and who you want to be the more you actually do this, and eventually that's what actually makes you more advanced. So yeah, it's not really helpful to kind of look at other people, think that they're getting lots and lots of results, and then kind of looking at their stats and thinking like, oh yeah, this guy is getting laid all the time, whatever, and then kind of comparing yourself to that person, because everyone is coming at this from a different sort of starting point and from a different angle, from a different perspective. You know, everyone's looking different, everyone's coming from a different cultural background, everyone's coming from a different social background, so there's really no point kind of comparing yourself to somebody else who's doing this and who you think might be advanced, and then thinking, right, yep, this person is advanced, once I copy this person exactly, then I will also be advanced. It doesn't really work like that necessarily. It's really got to kind of resonate with you, and it is entirely subjective, you know. If you think you're advanced, then you're advanced, you know, and you're happy with what you're doing and you're going about it in a way that really kind of resonates with you, then fantastic. Then yeah, I would say you're advanced. So this is just my opinion, this is just what I think. There's a lot of nuance with this, but ultimately it's just semantics. It doesn't really matter. The main thing is that you're going out there, you're doing your best, and you're having fun with it. You know, have fun with it, and then a lot of this stuff will become a lot easier.
Cheers for watching. If you'd be interested in one-to-one coaching with me, where we'll go out in public and work on you approaching girls, or more generally with your social confidence, please visit my website ed-game.com.